So what made you decide to get involved with marketing and advertising as a career?
I'm a philosophy major. I have a degree in philosophy, which is the theoretical BS, and decided I wanted to go into applied BS. And you know, I went into it about 18 years ago, and it was more because that's what I thought I would be good at. And it also struck me as that's the kind of career that somebody who doesn't have a degree in it could still do it. So, and I've run into that kind of thinking now. You know, as I've been self-taught, and I meet more people who think that way, but then don't do what they repeat what they see on TV. They don't learn it for themselves. So I try to encourage people who don't have that degree to educate themselves as much as possible.
Okay, great. And what was your first job ever?
First job ever? I was a flower delivery boy at age 17 for a small florist in Muncie, Indiana, and held that over the summer.
What is or has been your best job or career, and why do you consider it to be the best?
It's really trite. The best job I've got is the one I've got now, because I own my own company. I get to explore the things I want to explore. I get to take on the clients I want to take on. I don't have a boss who, you know, I don't have a jerk for a boss. I get to kind of set my own hours, do my own work. The one problem is, as a business owner, I get to set my own hours, but there are a lot of them. So, but I get to do, you know, I get to wear jeans to work, and I get to work wherever I want, and so that's got to be the best job I've ever had.
For you personally, what was your worst job, and why do you consider it to be the worst?
I did crisis communication for the Indiana State Health Department for about 18 months, and that was my worst job. Not because it was state government, but because you had one role, and that's all you did. You couldn't branch out, you couldn't explore new ideas. If it wasn't the process that has already been in place for the last 50 years, you couldn't do it, which made things like introducing social media and using that difficult because we've never done it before. Why should we do it now? And it was that kind of thinking that was really hard to work around.
What are some common mistakes that you see people making with social media?
One of the biggest mistakes, and I know this is the advertising newsletter, but one of the biggest mistakes is to treat it like an advertising channel.
Okay.
To think that it's enough to once a week send out a tweet that says, hey, we got a sale, or hey, it's 20% off, or hey, it's happy hour, and that's all they do. And you know, they don't communicate with other people, they don't try to establish relationships with other people. They just broadcast out and ignore people trying to talk back to them.
Okay, and so I know you said establishing relationships is really important, especially for businesses and social media. What are some other things that people should be conscious of to avoid pitfalls?
I think another one is just being honest and open. That means that if you have a bad day or if you make a mistake, to own up to it and say, yeah, I did this, I'm very sorry.
Okay.
But, you know, and especially in the advertising and marketing worlds, we're so image conscious that even we ourselves have this image we have to portray, and we don't like to have that veneer shaken up a little bit. And social media absolutely doesn't let us do that, because if you make a mistake, there are plenty of people who are going to point it out to you. And so I've learned that if I screw something up, like, you know, during the talk I said Barack Obama instead of Osama bin Laden, it's like, yeah, I could either try to fake my way out of that and say, oh, I never said that, which people do, or yeah, I screwed up, that was kind of goofy, and laugh at myself. And I think that social media lets us do that. And the people who don't have problems when they get called out and can't backtrack.
What is the best piece of career advice that you've been given?
Read a lot. That's honestly the best thing that I've ever heard, or a variation of that, is that we are the sum of the 5 last books we've read and the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so, if that's true, I need to surround myself with people who are smarter than me and know more than me. And I need to read books that challenge me, stretch me, and teach me things that I don't know or even don't agree with.
Okay. If you weren't doing the job that you're currently doing now, being an advocate for social media, what would you like to do and why?
If I could have any job, I would want to be a scriptwriter for Big Bang Theory.
Why is that?
I've been a humor writer for 18 years, and it's been newspapers, but I've done some playwriting and some radio playwriting, and I think it would be fun to be a kind of room full of other writers, just coming up with great ideas and sharing those with millions.
Do you favor one genre over the next?
Between radio and stage?
No. As far as writing, do you like to write comedy? Do you write like more serious
I
things?
cannot write serious things, other than nonfiction. I write a lot of nonfiction. I tried writing something dramatic once, and it was awful. It ended up being funny, and I thought, I've done this for so long, I don't how not to.
Okay, and so back to you being the sum of the last 5 books you've read. What are you currently reading?
Reading The Thank You Economy by Gary Vaynerchuk. I just gave back. I get a lot of my books from the library. It's one called 50 Writing Tools. Just finished not too long ago The Now Revolution by Jay Baer. Jay's a good friend of mine. Lives in Bloomington, Indiana. In fact, Jason, and I are kind of the mystery, the Bermuda Triangle, like Indiana, Kentucky. Let's see. Those are the 3 books that I've read. And I read a lot of fiction, too. I have to cut myself a break. And so I like British murder mysteries quite a bit. And I've been reading a lot of those.
Okay. Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter?
Twitter.
And why is that?
I've created a brand on Twitter that, it's part humor, part business, and that's the place where I can go to be really goofy. Facebook, my mom's on Facebook. I'm 44 years old. I'm old enough to not worry about what my mom thinks, but my mom is on Facebook, and I don't want to do some of the things that on Twitter or on Facebook that I could on Twitter.
Right. All right. So if you started your dream company, and it could be any type of company, whatever you prefer, what 3 people, dead or alive, would you hire, and why? And what roles would they play? Any 3 people. It's been great. We've had like some crazy answers to this one.
Oh wow, that's a good one. I'd put General MacArthur in charge of long-term planning. Who's the most recent Chancellor of the Exchequer for England? He'd be my CFO. And P.T. Barnum would be my Director of Marketing.
Yeah. What is the one thing you wish companies would do more of in terms of utilizing social media?
Just use it. I hear from a lot of companies, and we talked a little bit about it today. They don't want to use it because they think people will say bad things about them, or they believe that their customers don't use it. And they say that without being on it, without knowing what they're using. It's like saying, my customers don't drive Ford because I don't drive Ford. And if you don't even see what your customers drive, you can't assume they don't drive a Ford. So to say that about social media, I think, is a big mistake. I think companies just need to kind of get over themselves and do it. The whole world is going to this. This is not going to go away. This isn't a fad. I mean, there are people who thought the internet would be a fad. There's this great article in Newsweek from 1995 about, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he basically said the internet's a flop, it's a fad. He said, we're not going to buy stuff off the internet. That's stupid. He said, we're not going to be looking at some electronic book reader on the beach reading books. He said, yeah, okay, somebody's going to put up a web page of cute pictures of kittens, but that's going to be it. Okay, and somebody pulled this out like 15 years later, and like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And there are people who say social media is not going to do anything, it's stupid. But Mark Zuckerberg is a cajillionaire, and Facebook has 800 million people on it. If it was a country, it'd be the 3rd largest country in the world. That's not a fad. You don't get 800 million people doing anything, and it's still growing. So for companies that have certain demographics, chances are those demographics are on Facebook. Unless you sell to the Amish, they're on. Everybody is on Facebook.